Welcome to Deep Thought. The issue with beauty standards. You know what? I had a conversation with a young lady. And sometimes a young lady might listen to this. So she got the tough love version of this conversation, right? But she was asking about what I would thought about plastic surgery, right? Because she was thinking about getting a nose. I don't know if she's thinking about getting a nose job, but she doesn't like her nose. Now, to me, her nose is part of what makes her like extremely beautiful. But it's a broad, it's a broad, stereotypically African nose, right? Which I, and it was interesting that she said that. So after I had to did the not safe for work conversation, because when I hear beautiful women put down their own features, I jump on them. It's love. It's total tough love, because I'm like, man, you are fucking gorgeous. What the fuck, you know? I thought about that, but then I thought about a friend I had growing up, who. Now, unless they did something with this picture, I believe she got a nose job. And she had a broad nose. And I was like, what the fuck would you do that for? I always thought she was beautiful. She just didn't want my ass. So I was just like, wait a minute, what the fuck? And nose job is actually a very popular, is a very popular plastic surgery performed on African Americans, right? And I thought about that, and then had another occasion. I saw a woman, and I could tell she was Asian, but she might have had eyelid surgery. Asians, if they get plastic surgery, they might have eyelid surgery to make their eyes look bigger and more westernized. And see, this is the issue, and this is even why I put it on the Deep Thought channel. It's a very strong issue, because it's a side of racism and the philosophy of white supremacy we don't talk about a lot. It's holding up like one group of people as inherently more beautiful than the rest. But that's a false belief. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that as a political thing. It's a false belief, right? Because because really true beauty with anyone is someone being in their optimal form. But there's no universal optimal form. It's certainly not whites. They're not a majority on this planet. It's not blacks. I mean, even though, science has shown that blacks were the original, it's still, overall, people are mixed anyway. But still, that's not the optimal form. Asians, any racial group, subgroup, ethnic group, none of them are like the ultimate form. The ultimate form is within themselves. I want y'all to think about this. The ultimate form is whatever your DNA has as your most optimal physical form. That's beauty. And the thing is, there's no like universal beauty that's better than others. To say something is better than others is cultural chauvinism. It's like saying an orchid is prettier than a rose, or a rose is prettier than an orchid. They're both beautiful just in their way, or even body size. You have three body types: ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. To say one is more beautiful than the other or more optimal than the other is once again cultural chauvinism. You got some endomorphs who, they big. They're not really fat, but just because of their makeup, they might have more, maybe not as defined muscles. But anybody who's seen like some nice like brick house built women, or there's women who like, stockier type of men, shoot, they be like, hey, that's the most beautiful thing, And, mesomorphs, they have their thing, and then ectomorphs have their thing. There's no universal thing, but a big problem is just the idea that one type of form is the most beautiful is actually harmful to many people. Like particularly like the issue with Black America, blacks all over the planet really, is that the Caucasoid phenotype is held up as superior. And I'm thinking, why? And you have a point where you have a point where there's a whole industry. There's a whole industry, probably $1 billion industry, just of hair, of black women like wearing different types of hair. And believe it or not, that was actually enforced because you have laws, Supreme Court laws saying people could discriminate against, people wearing dreadlocks and stuff. And I'm just like, that's some bullshit. I mean, the hair is the hair. And trying to force somebody to have a different type of hairstyle is some bullshit. It's just straight bullshit. Anybody got a problem with that? Shit, I would delete your motherfucking comment. It's bullshit. It's bullshit because if that's what they have, that's them. Like the only standard is just keep the shit clean, and which people can do with dreadlocks, they can do with so-called coarse hair and everything, right? But it's a psychological thing for someone to think that their features are ugly because they don't look like a standard set, even within the white community. Even in the white community, because I remember when I was working at this gym, right? And I signed up. I was a salesman, and I signed up a whole office to, sell, memberships, right? Signed up a whole office. Now I remember a group of the people in the office, particularly the women, they would come and work out together. But there was one more person I signed up. Now, she was, for lack of a better term, an adult Barbie, like a real-life Barbie. Like, she had naturally blonde hair, blue eyes. She had a slim but shapely build. That's what is basically held up, which ironically is a beauty standard that most white women don't reach any damn way. The average white woman is 5'4" and slightly overweight. So, she had a good height, too. I think she's like about 5'7". But the women in her office hated her for her looks. They had no problems expressing that even in front of me. I was like, wow. So it's like it causes a psychological problem there. And even with the blonde hair, even though in the black community a big deal is made about black women wearing, weaves and hair pieces and stuff like that, right? It's actually a big problem in the white female community that most of them aren't blonde. It's rare. Real true blonde is rare, but you see a lot of women dyeing their hair different colors and everything. And it's not always a thing of just being fashionable or something. And of course, plastic surgery, that is big as hell in the white community. So half of them don't reach the actual standard. That standard, right? And it's an evil thing because it's we're not really looking at what we're supposed to be, because that, like I say, the ideal is whatever your DNA has in there. And in fact, I'm gonna tell you, it's deep to the point. If someone is where they at physically with their DNA, they will attract compatible mates to them automatically, almost like a magnet. There's a deep science there. It's a deep science, but I would have to get into chakras and stuff to explain why that works. But it's a deep science. When somebody is at their optimal, they will draw it to them. Like, I'll give you an example, because really beauty got to be seen as the whole body. So you get somebody who's, say you get a woman who has big breast, right? And for the seriousness, I'm not going to joke around and say breasts, but big breasts, right? Big shapely breast, and she presents them in such a way. The men that she attracts are going to be guys that she's going to get along with naturally, even if it might not look like it on the surface. And they could be different social classes, different races, different religions even, but she will find that she will click with men who find that aspect of her attractive, or men who like round derrieres or nice legs. She'll find that the men who have a strongest attraction, like almost a magnetic attraction, those are the type that get along with. And men as well. You have some men, they get caught over looks, and you get a few even want to get nose jobs or think they're ugly. And I'm like, compared to what? That's an artificial standard. The only standard somebody should follow is what's in their DNA, because they will find the same thing. Women who like big arms and broad shoulders and stuff will have a magnetic attraction to them if they have that. Or women who like muscular legs. I mean, I've seen women go crazy over men's thighs. But the women who have that will be, most attracted to them on a deep level. They'll find that they will click with them. So, when I hear about beauty standards and stuff, that's the thing. Don't compare yourself to another person. You just have to be the best person you can be, And like I said, what big problem is, like, in this world, like, a white aesthetic is promoted to the point where other people are mutilating themselves. White, blacks, and Asians are mutilating themselves to look like it. But that's some cultural imperialism. That's colonizing the mind. And it's real talk. It's colonizing the mind. Because I remember there was a study that supposedly said some features that were stereotypically white were the most universally loved, but it was a bullshit study because they didn't include Africans or, people, blacks in that study. They only used whites and Asians in the study. So that was some bullshit. And then, you have that aesthetic promoted all over the world. Because if you look at it, I'm going to tell you what. If you look at what's promoted as beautiful, like, you get these magazines telling you it's beautiful, and I'm like, nah, dog, not really. If you really think about it, and then if you have that image constantly projected in your mind, that can mess you up. But it's something really to deal with. It's something really to deal with. Now, in all fairness, a lot of people don't get caught up in it. Many cultures got their own style, A lot of African cultures that remain more traditional, they're like, yeah, fuck them. This is what we like. If you're finding cultures that have the least amount of Western contamination, tend to have their own beauty standards and don't give a fuck. The cultures, even in places like America, it's the culture. The standard might be slightly different in maybe some poorer areas. And even within the white community, the standard might be slightly different. But it's still that old general thing that's promoted overall, just some beauty standard. It's like, nah, we got to get past that. I'm seeing too many people wanting to mutilate themselves, known personally people who mutilated themselves, or, they either fried their hair, or they wearing, hair from some other woman somewhere in the world. Producing self-hate in them where they're not looking in the mirror and seeing the most beautiful thing. So, I got to say that. We got to address that because really, and that's something I need to talk about on my relationship channel because that's a big part of the relationship piece, particularly in the African-American community. And I've seen it in the white community. Like I said, most white women don't reach that Barbie standard. Most don't. So it's messing with them too. So that's all. It's just something I want to think about. Like I said, every conversation on here don't have to be about like some deep metaphysics, but just to get you to think about stuff. And that's something very powerful to think about. So anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you later. Peace.